The seat cushion was still warm when I sat back down, like someone had just left it for me. But I was the only one there. Rows of empty white chairs, some still fluttering napkins in the breeze, looked like they were waiting for guests who never planned to come. My sister Tara stood at the altar holding a fake bouquet, her real one forgotten in the dressing room. I could tell from the way she stared past the archway that she was still hoping someone, anyone, would pull up and make this feel less like a prank. We were never the kind of family that hugged, not unless someone died. And even then, it was more of a shoulder bump. Growing up, it was just me, Tara, and Mum. Our dad left before I could spell his name. Tara always said she didn't miss him. I think that was a lie she told for my benefit. She was 4 years older and always acted like the shield between me and whatever crap the world tried to throw our way. By the time I hit high school, she'd practically raised me, paid for my football cleats with tips from her job at that 24-hour diner off Route 7. Took me to school on her days off, sat through my JV games even when Mom didn't show. And I think that's the part that kills me now, how I owed her so much, and it still wasn't enough. The wedding was set for a Saturday, October 8th. She texted me the date 3 times over 3 months. I saved it in my phone, circled it on the fridge calendar, even turned down a weekend camping trip with some buddies. I didn't know then that none of them had RSVP'd either. The venue was this barn-style rental out in the hills outside Asheville. Rustic wood beams, strung Edison bulbs, one of those venues that looked like Pinterest threw up on it in the best way. She loved it. She and Luis had paid for it themselves. No family contributions. No help from his side either, since they apparently weren't thrilled about her not being Catholic. I only met Luis twice before the wedding. He seemed decent, quiet, civil engineer. He shook my hand like he measured pressure for a living. Tara was glowing, though. Nervous in that way where she kept checking her teeth in her phone camera, but still couldn't stop smiling. She looked safe. That's the word I'd use, like she'd finally found a place to rest. So when I got there, 20 minutes early, I thought I was just ahead of the crowd. I parked near the back lot and walked in carrying a card with a check inside, one I couldn't really afford but wrote anyway. Figured I'd give it to her at the reception. There were about 60 chairs set up, all empty except for one older couple I didn't recognize. Turned out later they were the caterers. A kid in a too tight vest, probably a cousin of Luis's, sat fiddling with the Bluetooth speaker. "Hey," I said, "am I early?" He looked up. "They're running a little late, I think." But they weren't. Luis showed up 10 minutes later, looking pale but composed. He went straight to the side entrance with his best man, some guy with a nose ring and a vape who kept checking his phone. I sat down near the aisle, second row, facing the altar. I didn't even realize the photographer had left until I checked the time again. By 4:15, it was obvious. The officiant whispered something to Luis, who nodded and rubbed his face. No one else had arrived, not one friend from Tara's job, not a single cousin, aunt, or even our mum. And when Tara walked out in her dress, one she bought second-hand, and had altered 3 times to save money, she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked around once calmly and then stared at me. "You're here," she said, walking up. Her voice was so quiet it got caught in the wind. "Of course I'm here." She blinked like she wasn't sure how to process that. Then she turned to Luis and said, "Let's do it." No fanfare, no music, no applause, just the 3 of us and the officiant and a silent field full of unused decorations. They said their vows with this weird grace, like they'd already rehearsed being let down. I held my phone up and recorded it because the photographer never showed. She didn't ask me to, but I figured she might want to remember it one day, or maybe prove it happened. At the end, when they kissed, Luis whispered something to her. I couldn't hear it, but it made her lip tremble for the first time all day. Then the officiant said, "You may now kiss your husband." The line felt out of place, like it arrived too late. They laughed, not a big one, just a soft, exhausted one, like when you finally give up trying to explain how much something hurts. We sat in a triangle under the string lights as the sun started to dip behind the hills. Luis tried to open a bottle of champagne with a key. The cake looked beautiful, white, minimal, with pressed lavender, but no one cut it. "I think they all bailed," Tara finally said, staring at the cake like it owed her an apology. I didn't know what to say. "I texted Rachel last night," she went on. "She said she couldn't find a sitter." But that was before she posted a selfie at her kid's soccer game. I kept quiet. "And Mom," she added. "She said she'd try. That's what she always says. I'll try." Then nothing. Not even a sorry I missed it. Not even a text today. Luis cleared his throat. "We could reschedule, maybe do something smaller. Just close friends." "There are no close friends," she said without malice. She wasn't even angry. That's what made it worse. She said it like she'd already adjusted to the math of it. That night, they left early. Luis's car had "just married" written in chalk pen, but the tin cans never got tied on. They drove off in silence, no honking, no cheers. I sat for a while, ate a slice of cake alone, even though I hate lavender, packed up a few of the decorations so they wouldn't blow away overnight. On the drive back to my apartment, I kept trying to think of what I could have done differently. Maybe invited people myself, pushed Mom harder, told her it mattered. But the thing that kept ringing in my head was Tara's voice when she said, "You're here." Like that fact alone had been a surprise. The next morning, I texted her, "Let me know if you want me to drop off the decorations. Or if you need anything." No reply. I waited a few hours and tried again. "Hey, you good?" Nothing. I called, voicemail, and that's been the story for the last 4 weeks. I've tried her husband too. He answered once, said they were taking space from family right now, said it wasn't about me. But the thing is, it feels like it is, because I showed up, and somehow I'm the one she won't speak to. "Don't take it personally," that's what Luis said. He said it like he was offering me a glass of water, not explaining why my sister had vanished from my life. He called 3 days after the wedding. I was in the middle of putting together a bookcase, one of those cheap MDF kits from Target, too many screws, not enough patience. Phone lit up with his name, and for half a second, I thought maybe Tara would be on the line too. She wasn't. "She's just dealing with things," he said. "A lot hit her all at once." I remember thinking, what things? Like we hadn't all watched the same wedding turnout. Like I didn't spend the whole drive home with her bouquet riding shotgun next to me because she forgot it in the chaos. I told him I understood. I didn't. The next few days passed like static. I kept checking her socials. Nothing new, no photos, no status updates. Her last post was 2 days before the wedding. A blurry shot of the barn being decorated, captioned, "Can't believe it's finally happening." The only comment was from our mum, a thumbs up emoji. I kept thinking, she has to break the silence eventually, right? We're not the kind of siblings who ghost. We grew up leaning on each other. Back when Mum used to disappear for weekends and show up smelling like a bar mat, Tara was the one who'd cook me boxed mac and cheese, cover for me at parent-teacher nights, sign my field trip slips. We used to have this phrase, "just us two." She said it when we'd sit on the couch and watch reruns while pretending things were normal. Now it was just me. I drove to her apartment, didn't tell her I was coming, just showed up like a stray cat with guilt stuck in my fur. Luis answered the door. His face looked thinner already, like the wedding had aged him. "She's not here," he said. "Where is she?" He hesitated. "Her friend's place." She needed a breather. He didn't invite me in, just stood there, holding the edge of the door like it might swing away if he let go. I nodded. "Tell her I stopped by?" He said he would. I don't know if he did. The thing about being the only one who showed up is that it becomes a kind of curse. You saw the failure, you held it in your lap, you looked her in the eyes when her whole world collapsed and didn't know what to say. You become a mirror she can't look at without remembering. A week later, Mum called me. That alone was rare. She said, "So, what happened?" I asked what she meant. She sighed. "Your sister's wedding." You know I couldn't make it. My ride fell through. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just let the silence sit until she got uncomfortable. "You know I don't do well with crowds," she added, like it was a valid excuse for skipping her only daughter's wedding. "She cried after you didn't show," I said. "She cries about everything." That was the last straw. "No, Mom." "She cries when it matters, and this mattered." Click. She hung up on me, didn't even try to call back. I started noticing little things missing in my day-to-day life, quiet gaps where Tara used to be. I'd go to text her a meme. I'd spot something at the grocery store she used to eat as a kid, those frosted circus cookies, and reach for the bag before remembering. We didn't even fight. That's the part that stung. She just disappeared. And I kept wondering if maybe that made it worse. If we'd had a screaming match, at least there'd be a reason, something I could point to. But this was silence. 2 weeks out, I drove back to the venue. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a leftover shoe, maybe closure in a hay bale. The chairs were gone, the lights taken down. Only thing left was a half-deflated love balloon tangled in a fence. I stood there for a while, hands in my hoodie pocket, kicking at dirt. Then I walked around to the side of the barn where Tara and I had taken that one photo years ago, back when she first said she'd booked the place. She made me take a goofy selfie with her, said, "You'll be my best man if Louise flakes." Now it was just a photo in my camera roll, time-stamped and hollow. That night, I got drunk, alone, on cheap whiskey. I wrote her a message I never sent. "Tara, I don't know what I'm supposed to say." I showed up. I was there. And now it feels like that was the wrong move too. "What do you want from me? To vanish like the rest of them?" Then I deleted it. Didn't trust drunk me to speak for sober me. But the ache didn't go away. The worst part came when Rachel, Tara's friend, the one who bailed for her kid's soccer game, messaged me. "Not Tara, me," she said. "I feel bad." Is she mad? I stared at the message for 10 minutes, typed, "What do you think?" then erased it. Ended up just replying, "Yeah." She sent back a crying emoji. Somehow that felt more insulting than if she'd said nothing. Then came the photo. A week later, Tara and Luis on a beach, matching sunglasses. Caption, "Fresh air does wonders. No tags, no mention of the wedding, just a clean slate." I commented a heart emoji, hoping she'd at least like it. She didn't. It's weird, right? To be punished for being loyal, that's what this feels like. Everyone else broke her heart by not showing up. I broke it by witnessing it, by being the only one who knew exactly how alone she was in that moment. And I don't think she can forgive me for that. I don't think she wants to. Luis texted me last night, said they're thinking of moving. "Fresh start," he wrote. "No bad memories." I wanted to ask if that meant no me too, but I already knew the answer. Still no response to any of my texts, still no "thank you," no "sorry," no "I just need space." Just absence. And it's starting to eat at me, because being the only one who showed up should have meant something. But now it feels like it cost me everything. Halfway through deleting her number, I stopped. Not because I changed my mind, but because I realized I still knew it by heart. All 10 digits. Muscle memory burned into my thumb from years of "you okay?" texts and late night "can you talk?" calls. I hit cancel and tossed my phone onto the couch. It had been almost 2 months since the wedding, since the silence, since I started living in this weird in-between space, like a supporting character cut from the final season of someone else's life. Tara was still out there, breathing, eating, married. And yet it felt like she'd died and no one had told me. People kept saying the same thing, "She'll come around." Like grief has a schedule, like trust is a rubber band that snaps back when you let it go long enough. I stopped believing them after week 5. What finally pushed me wasn't some dramatic epiphany. It was a Tuesday. I'd just come back from work, reheated leftovers, and opened a box of old crap I'd been meaning to sort through. Inside was a notebook, bright blue, stickers on the front, property of T written in big block letters. Tara's middle school diary. She used to make me promise never to read it, even made me sign a sibling oath with crayon. But eventually, she handed it over one summer after college, said I could keep it. For when I'm unbearable, she joked. You'll remember I was human once. I flipped through it on my couch, pages full of rants about school, boys, math tests. But halfway in, I found this. June 14th. I hate when Mum drinks. It's like she forgets we're here. I put Matt to bed and he cried a little. I told him it's just us two, that we'll always show up for each other. I hope he remembers that when he's older. I really hope he does. I sat with that line like it was radioactive. I hope he remembers. I did, and it hadn't mattered. I drove to her place again, didn't call, didn't text, just showed up. The complex looked the same, slightly too beige, rent-controlled fake palm trees by the stairwell. Her car was gone, but Luis's was there. I knocked, no answer. Knocked again, louder this time. Finally, the door opened. Luis. He looked more tired than last time. Hoodie, mismatched socks. A man who knew I wasn't leaving. She's not here, he said. Then I'll wait. He sighed and stepped aside. I walked in and sat on the armrest of their second-hand couch. The place smelled like rosemary and something burnt. A plant was dying by the window. He sat across from me but didn't speak. After a few beats, I said, "She cut me out." I get that, but I think I deserve to know why. Luis scratched at his jaw. "It's not about you." "Yeah, you said that. Doesn't make it feel any less personal." He stood, walked to the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water, then leaned against the sink like the counter was the only thing holding him up. "She's ashamed," he said. I blinked. Of what? Of being the one no one showed up for. I let that hang there. "She thinks," he continued, "if she lets herself be close to the only person who was there, it'll just make the loneliness sharper, like you're proof of how bad it really was." I felt something drop in my chest, like a rock skipping once and then sinking for good. Louise sat down again. "She loves you, Matt." "I know she does, but right now that love is tangled up in a bunch of pain she doesn't know how to sort." I nodded slowly. "She said," he added, "you looked at her different that day, like you pitied her." "I didn't. I know. But she thinks you did." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "So what am I supposed to do? Just vanish until she untangles her emotions?" Louis shrugged. "Honestly, maybe, or maybe you do the thing you've always done. Show up." I went home and wrote her a letter. Not an email, not a text, a real letter. Folded the blue diary page inside it, with that line about remembering. I told her, "I showed up because I always will. I didn't pity you. I respected the hell out of you. Watching you stand there alone and still say, 'I do,' that was one of the bravest things I've ever seen. You were radiant, not because of your dress, because of your spine. You stood tall when no one else did, and I need you to know I saw that, not as something tragic, as something powerful." I ended it with, "It's still just us two. If you want it to be." Dropped it in her mailbox. Didn't wait for a reply. She called 4 days later. Didn't say hello, just, "Do you remember the purple dress I made you wear for my 10th birthday tea party?" I laughed. "You mean the one with the ruffles?" I've tried very hard to forget. I still have the photo. I swear to God. "I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. "I should have called you weeks ago. I didn't want you to see me that way." "I already did." "I know." That's what scared me. Silence. Then, "Can we start over?" she asked. "You never had to." We met for coffee the next day. She wore sunglasses too big for her face and carried that same old purse with the broken zipper. I brought her a box of those frosted circus cookies. She smiled when she saw them, a real one, not the plastic smile she wore at the altar. We didn't talk about the wedding, not that day. We just sat on a park bench and fed ducks and watched the light change. But when she hugged me goodbye, she whispered, "Thanks for being the only one." I hugged her back, always.